Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in on this Wednesday, hump day, here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, looking outside, it looks a little gloomy. Looks like it might be raining. I can't tell. Looks like it very well might be, though. That's okay. Into the lives, a little rain must fall, right? But that's okay. Keeping the grass looking green. Seems like we, at least around here, done a nice job keeping things looking green. How's your day going? Looking forward to talking to Dustin Schutte and Rick Bozich and Bob Kravitz together. That'll be great. Two Hall of Fame writers. I love bringing people like that together with such great experiences over the course of time and see things differently. Look forward to talking about that. Deron Davis has found a new home. He'll be playing in Cyprus. It's not bad. Get paid to hang out in Cyprus. We'll hear from Peyton Hendershot, Caleb Jones, Raheem Lane. Got Hoosier Hysteria coming up October 2nd. That's at 4 p.m. You can go to thehoosier.com for the details, but it's basically that. Doors open at 2:30. Courage to bring a canned good for a donation. You know, I did not see anything, and I guess I need to go back and look at the release that that we were sent, but I don't recall seeing anything about masks. And I got to tell you,
for Hoosier Hysteria, they are asking that fans wear masks. I don't know that it's a requirement, but they're asking.
That shocks me because we're in did Monroe County lift the mask mandate? Because everywhere, if you go anywhere, you see the signs are up, but I have not seen anything demanding that. Like you said, the request, I didn't even see that in the request I was reading.
I saw it in a tweet from somebody, and I'm trying to find who it was.
Well, this is the final details of one of the most highly anticipated Hoosier Hysterias ever now set. This is the direct press release that we get. And I think this was yesterday. Yep. IU men's coach Mike Woodson and women's coach Terry Morin will unveil their 2021 basketball teams to the Hoosier fans Saturday, October 2nd, 4 p.m. at Simon Scott Assembly Hall at Hoosier Hysteria, presented by Smithville. Doors open at 2:30 p.m. and admittance to the season opening event is free and open seating. Attendees are asked to bring a canned good food item to donate to the Hoosier Hills Food Bank. The event is expected to last 90 minutes. Will conclude in time for Hoosier fans to be able to watch the IU football game with Penn State. So if you're asking why is it 4 o'clock, there you go. What will be new for Indiana basketball in 2021? Plenty. On the men's side, of course, Mike Woodson makes his first public appearance at Simon Scott Assembly Hall as the head coach of his alma mater. So you've got that. His first IU team will be led by preseason first-team All-American Trace Jackson Davis. The men's team features 9 returning lettermen, which sounds like a lot with all the people they brought in, doesn't it? 2 highly regarded freshmen and 4 transfers. Women's side, the biggest change for Morin's team is the level of anticipation and expectations. With last season's starters Ali Patberg, Grace Berger, Mackenzie Holmes, Alexa Gube, and Nicole Cardenio-Hillary all back. Wow, they've got all those starters back from an NCAA Elite 8 team. And They have a damn good team. That women's team, good. They won a program record 16 Big Ten games last year. So things are looking up. But, see, I'm still looking. There we are at the very, very end. Adding to the anticipation for this year's event is that it will also mark the first time in more than 18 months that Hoosier fans will be able to see IU basketball teams at Simon Scott Assembly Hall in person. In accordance with Indiana University policy, fans are asked to wear a face covering at this year's event. So they did ask. I'm shocked that it was not demanded, but I guess there's only so much you can demand, but there's that. So you're asked to wear a face covering at an event that will be very tight with roughly 17,000 people. So, and I'm not pro against, it's whatever. I'm vaccinated. I'm trying to, my doctor recently contracted COVID with a mask and a face shield and vaccinated from a client or a patient that was masked and vaccinated. So there you go. It is what it is, man. It's the flu now, just with worse repercussions. I mean, by that, I mean, we're going to be dealing with it for some time. So that's that. Hey, we got a lot of comments already. Thanks a lot. You guys are up and at it. Hitting it. Mike Niehaus says he watched the IU Cincy game for the first time. He thought Penix made some really bad passes and poor decisions. Well, you ain't wrong. His wide receivers did not help with numerous drop passes. Yeah, Ty Freifogel has not been Ty Freifogel. Man, he dropped a couple that he made a name for getting last year in tough situations. And he dropped some balls that were just off his hands. That would have been big plays. That's, as a fan, if you're a fan, I understand. You and the coaches have to be just, I was talking about this last night, unbelievably upset with that Cincinnati game. Cincinnati was just not that good. They were begging to be beat. And Indiana was begging to give the game away, which they did, simply on mistakes. And that's been the most problematic thing for Indiana. It's not just having a just barely better than average offense. It's the constant mistakes that they're making that override that and anything that they've accomplished. You can't force turnovers. And those interceptions, that interception at the half that allowed Cincinnati to score and get some momentum, just ridiculous. Fumbling at the 2. Forget about that. Forget about the Micah McFadden thing. I can list 4 things that Indiana gave the game away on that had nothing to do with Micah McFadden. Roughing the passer after they stopped him on a critical 3rd down, only to give them a new set of downs where they go down and score. There's 3 scores right there, folks. 3 scores that you turn around. Yeah, it was just, and that's all unbelievably self-inflicted wounds being made by an experienced team. These aren't a bunch of rookies making these mistakes. These are the veterans. These are the guys that were coming back. This is part of that 16 returning starters that are making these mistakes. That's what's so bothersome. So, Indiana wants to prove that they're not Indiana of old. You got to quit shooting yourself in the foot, man. They're not losing for any other reason. Now, they would have lost to Iowa regardless. Unless Michael Penix had an Ohio State type game and the entire offense had that type of game, Iowa was just ready. They had heard about getting off to slow starts, and damn, they look good. They still look good. They look better now. They're going to win the Big Ten West. They might be the best team in the Big Ten, period. Not because they're the most talented, but they sure don't make a lot of mistakes and just do what they're supposed to do. Let's see. Ross is up and at it down in southern Kentucky. Said it's been raining since 3 a.m. down there. Yeah, I can't tell if it's raining right now because I'm looking through the window through the screens. It looks like it is, but up here in Wyatt said he got up late today, and he was late to work, but he got there, and then he got to listen to the show. It's all that matters. Brian Hagedorn checking in as well. Tim says, who would you say is the best overall basketball player of all time that transferred to IU? Man, that would take some research.
Pretty sure he got that question from Nick Coffey this morning, because I saw him tweet that out. I bet he was talking about that on his show. Talking about the best Juco player to ever come into the program.
Oh, well, by best, you got to go Keith Smart. He hit a shot that won a national championship. I think that trumps all else. Him and Dean Garrett were the keys to winning a national championship. Without those Juco transfers, that 87 championship doesn't happen. That was not a very good team. I mean, you had Steve Alford who could shoot in the brand new era of the three-pointer, which was like a high school three-pointer now. And you had a bunch of role players. Without those two guys, that championship does not happen. Without Keith Smart hitting that shot, that does not happen. So by default, Keith Smart is the greatest Juco transfer of all time, in my opinion. Plus, he's still having success. He's out coaching in the NBA, involved in the NBA. That's a no-brainer to me. No-brainer. Now, Juco or just transfer, because now that takes in a whole new word. And then who was it? Utah. The Utah quarterback situation. This is where we are with, because of the ability of the students to be able to do whatever they want. Utah had a new quarterback this year that had transferred in from Baylor. Charlie Brewer. He came in with big expectations. He was the first 4-year starter in Baylor history. From what I remember, but I don't know that he got to start all 4 years. But he transferred to Utah, and he stayed there for 11 quarters. And if you look, I think that you mentioned South Alabama's off to a good 3-0 start. Well, Utah's leading or starting quarterback from last season, for whatever reason, transferred to South Alabama. That's part of the reason why they're having such a good run already, I'd say. But then Charlie Brewer transfers to Utah. We'll talk to Dustin Schutte about this in a minute. It's just crazy. He wins the starting job. Then he gets removed in a game that they're getting destroyed on, and the backup brings them back to a triple overtime. They end up losing 33-31. The rising kid, I think he's a sophomore. He comes in with 5:24 left in the third quarter, and he engineered 2 fourth-quarter touchdown drives, including the tying score with 16 seconds left. Ended the night 19-32 for just 153 yards. But so on the next, with a new depth chart released on Tuesday morning, Rising was listed as a starter. Second-year freshman Jaqueen Jackson was listed as the backup, and Brewer was no longer on the roster because he left. I'm not going to be the starter. Well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get back in the portal. Perfect timing, man. You were waiting. You were waiting and waiting for that.
It's my favorite thing to play. And as soon as I knew the opportunity was coming, I had to go find it.
That is, well, you did a great job. I got to give you props, man. You were quick and on it. I didn't even mention that. But That's exactly it. And that's exactly where we are today. This is not some freshman. Give me a break. This is just allowing a bunch of quitters is what this is promoting. But hey, that's that. That's their problem, right? We'll see where he ends up. Lost in that quarterback situation. The depth chart list, left tackle, Jeremy Klepp, left guard, who cares? But so now they lose a quarterback, a starting quarterback 3 games into the season. That has to suck. I mean, when you go to a school and you start a season, I think that you have to finish. You have to finish. You can't. I don't care about the stinking rules. If the season has started and you've played, especially, you can't. You can quit, but you cannot go anywhere else that year. Let's take a break. That's just stupidity. We got more comments to get to. Michael Music. That's a new one. Haven't seen that name before. Mike, welcome aboard, brother. We appreciate you. Chris Lewis. Keith is at Georgia or Alabama now as an assistant. Really? Let's look that up. Yep. Ed says getting 6 wins with the Indiana team is going to be tough. We'll talk about next Saturday night, primetime game against Penn State. We've got all kinds of good stuff to talk about. And earlier I was talking about the 5-yard penalty on a field goal attempt against Indiana when they lined up over the center and gave Cincinnati a 4th and 1, which they went for and got it and then later scored a TD. There's another thing. That's right. It's just so many issues. It was just nuts. Let's take a break. Dustin Schutte joining us next from Saturday Tradition, back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to andymoorehonda.com, get your Honda ordered. They've got 2021 let's see. Is it a Passport? They got a 2021 Passport. 0 down, 0% APR financing, 48 months, and another one. I'll have to pull that up. But we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, I was trying to cut a new Andy Moore commercial last night, but I kept screwing it up, so I just said I quit and walked away.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta
I've never done that, but once it starts going wrong and I can't get it, well, I didn't have it written out exactly word for word. I was ad-libbing here and then. I'm like, all right, I've got to write it out completely. So I'm like, I was done. I'll have to do it today after the show.
And don't forget to mention Mike DeBoard having a stroke.
Oh, please, yeah, thank you. That's any word on that?
Let me see if there's an update.
Pull that up. Has there been a statement by Tom Allen?
He tweeted something. Let me go to his Twitter. Yeah, he quoted someone else's tweet and said, "Prayers continue for Mike DeBoard, a dear friend and one of the finest individuals in our profession. #LEO." And the tweet he quoted was from John Bryce, which is the guy who I guess reported it because he's got the article link.
So is he back up at Michigan doing stuff?
He was most recently at Kansas as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but he's at University of Michigan's hospital.
He must. Well, I think before he had the stroke, and I could be wrong about this. I think he left Kansas due to health reasons. I'm not 100% sure that's what happened, but I think it could be. But I'm not going to say that over the air because I don't know for sure. I mean, I know we're on YouTube air, but I'm not going to say it on. I'm saying that I don't know on YouTube, obviously. All right, I'm going to bring us back.
helped me pick out my first car and helped me buy my dream home. And I know you'll continue to be there for whatever my future holds, because you're my BFF, banking friends forever.
Right now, get free checking with online banking and all the products of big city banks with hometown service.
With First Federal, you can do that.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. And my good friend, Dustin Schutte with us. Brought to you by our other good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg, Southern Indiana. If you're down in Southern Indiana, make sure you go see Dr. J for that championship smile. Dustin doesn't have a championship smile.
Nope. I have a just squeak into the tournament smile.
That we're not even close to that yet. It's
Bowl
early in the season.
Bowl eligibility smile? How's that?
Hey, you know what? Before we get to that, I want to Mike DeBoard, the former offensive coordinator at Indiana, at Tennessee, a lot of places. He's currently in the University of Michigan Hospital in the ICU. He suffered a stroke earlier in the week, a major brain bleed. So the next few days are super critical. Saw that come out yesterday. So all the thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. As that, like to see him be able to enjoy the rest of his post-coaching career and in good health. So hopefully he gets through that okay. Serious situation, but thoughts and prayers to him. Yeah, what were you saying? Oh, bowl eligibility.
That I had a bowl eligibility smile instead of a championship smile.
What's a bowl eligibility smile? Give me that. Give me the bowl eligibility smile. Is that having made it or hoping to make it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe that's because we thought we were going to do more, but this is all we can get to now.
If you're talking about Indiana, then I really have to wonder about bowl eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that, which is just beyond shocking to me because I was one of those who expected at worst an 8-4 season. And I knew 7-5 was possible, but I'm like, no, they're gonna win that game to not be 7-5. But now I don't know that they're gonna win that game to be 6-6. And that can't be blamed on anyone who thought that they were going to do well, because who did not think that they were going to do well? Why would you think that they wouldn't? You had 16, count them, returning starters, including most of your offensive line, of which you've added to, your quarterback, which was a little suspect, but you added a running back. Things were looking great. The defense, there was nothing. Everything was going set up for Indiana to have the best season ever for them. And while the Iowa game took a little wind out of those sails, quickly looking back, you can see Iowa's just a really good team. They were ready to play at the start of the year. They are a better team. They were better prepared. They were better coached, and they are not making any mistakes whatsoever. Indiana, I just said before you joined us, Indiana's biggest issue right now is not even the just above average offense. It is the absolute self-inflicting dumb play penalties that they're inflicting upon themselves and the things that they're not doing. Ty Freifogel is not making the catches he made a year ago. Not it's a ton, but he's dropped some balls that no reason to drop. The offense is making mistake after mistake. You fumble the ball on the 2. You force an interception with the ball right before halftime, right at midfield, to give the ball back for another score. the fumble on the 2 prevents your score. You stop them on a critical 3rd down, but roughing the passer gives them a new fresh set of downs in which they go score again. And then someone just mentioned the other thing that I'd missed, and a 5-yard penalty on a field goal attempt against Indiana when they lined up over the center and gave them a fresh 4th and 1 where they went for it and got it and later scored a touchdown. That's just 4 or 5 things on offense. Well, the one was on defense, but those are all Indiana's self-inflicted wounds. This was nothing Cincinnati did. And I'm telling you, Cincinnati is a nice team, but they're a top 25 team maybe. They are not a top 10 team. And Indiana should have won that game by 14, 17 points. And Indiana is not that good yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think you go back and you think of how many points Indiana left on the field. If Tom Allen doesn't go for it when they're in the red zone on a 4th and short and you kick the field goal, then at one point in the game, you're up 17-0. If you don't turn the ball over, if Michael Penix doesn't throw an interception, that's another 7 points. If you don't fumble on the 2-yard line, that's another 7 points. So right there, we're talking about 17 points. That's not even counting the interception that he threw at the end of the half that set up another 3 points. And then the penalty that was just mentioned that led to a Cincinnati touchdown. That's 27 points. That's 27 points that were on the field. So Indiana has got to get these are not the mistakes we saw this team make a season ago. And I don't really know what's going on. I mean, I understand. To me, a lot of people are going to look at that Micah McFadden play when he got tossed, and I understand.
I'm already past that. That's why I did not even mention that in this little run right there, because you can ignore that and just talk about what I just mentioned, and Mike, that doesn't matter. Micah McFadden doesn't matter if they simply take care of their own business.
Right. And there was no question it was a momentum shifting play, but you had opportunities to still win that game. And quite frankly, as you mentioned, win it handily. You know, maybe you don't win it by 28 points, but you could have won that by 10 or 14 at the very least. So you have to wonder what the mentality is going to be like. Going to Western Kentucky, this is a Western Kentucky team that has played well. They're not a great football team. Indiana, when you look at it from the talent perspective, they should dominate that game. But is that going to creep into their mind? Like, I wonder about where Indiana's mentality is right now, because you came into this season with aspirations of competing for a Big Ten title. And mathematically, obviously, they can still do that. They only have one conference loss. They have one non-conference loss. But the wind has to be taken out of the sails a little bit. So I wonder if Western Kentucky comes out and punches them in the mouth, what's the response going to be like? Are we going to see the Indiana we saw in 2020 that doesn't back down? Or is this a team that's already discouraged because it's had 2 deflating losses? So I'm really interested to see this game. I think Indiana will win, but I think how they win and how they play is going to kind of dictate what happens the rest of the season. Because when we looked at the schedule back in June, July, August, you look at that and you thought that Michigan State was going to be a guaranteed win. You thought Rutgers and Maryland were going to be guaranteed wins. Those teams are 9-0 right now combined. So there are no easy games really on that schedule for Indiana.
No, and like you said, it's the defense has done fine, but every time they look out there, they're getting no help.
Right.
They're getting no help. And that is got to be a little discouraging, because you have to have some help. You'd like to be on the sideline for a while, get some rest, let them run a nice drive, score. Don't put them in the position where they have to score, where they have to do all the work. And that's been the case here of late, unfortunately. But you mentioned something that what has changed. Well, I'm going to be honest. Kalen DeBoer has changed.
Yeah.
This offense is not what it was under Kalen DeBoer, which I expected that. I mean, he is obviously a great offensive mind. He was great before he got here. He was a pinball machine, man, of points before he arrived in Indiana. That's what Indiana looked like under him. That's what Fresno State looks like under him as head coach, as they are 2-1 with a win over a UCLA team and a close loss to another Pac. They're playing with the Pac-12 teams. Hell, the Pac-12 should invite Fresno State in to join. But that's what he's doing. He's competing there. He's elevated. This offense has not only has it not elevated, it has deflated a little bit. And you can blame that on Michael Penix, but you know what? It's not all Michael Penix. And I think that there's part of that is keeping him from getting comfortable. And I'm really wondering how much of an impact not having Kalen DeBoer is having on this offense, because it's looking more and more they're not getting comfortable as the weeks go along. Normally a team also gets a little bit more comfortable as you go along. They're not. They're not looking any different. There's no difference, and that's what's scary. They look like they've had no growth, no momentum, and that is a telltale sign that it's not coming down from the top.
You know a lot of people are going to continue to bash Michael Penix and talk about whether he should be the starter or not, but this falls on the offensive line hasn't played well. The running game hasn't been as good as we thought it was going to be. The play calling hasn't been great. You can't try to pick up 25 yards every time you're throwing the ball, and the receivers are not getting open. But here's something that I don't think we gave enough credit to, and I think we're starting to see now. How big was Whop Phillier in this offense? Because what he was able to do is he could catch a bubble screen or screen pass, and he would be able to take a 2-yard gain and turn it into 8 or 9. He could even turn it into 25 or 30 yards. And you don't have that type of security anymore. Michael Penix doesn't have that guy that's a quick trigger that he can get the ball out to and know that this is a guy that can bust it loose. And what he used to be able to do is Whop Phillier would take those quick passes and turn them into big gains. That would open up Ty Freifogel down the field. That would open up some other receivers deep down the field. Indiana doesn't have that weapon right now. And so that's why they can't get anybody open down the field. That's why when they take these deep shots, they're not connecting, because defenses don't have to cheat up on a receiver like they did with Whop Phillier. I think that he was we talked about him being a great receiver. I think he might have been even more important in this offense. Indiana has got to find a guy that can be that type of playmaker. Maybe that guy's
DJ Matthews, man.
There you go. I mean, that might be the type of guy, but you've got to get him.
He's been the most prolific receiver, I think, up till now.
But you've got to get somebody who has that sort of dynamic. I truly believe, because you look at what the offense has done. The running game wasn't great last year, so that's not what defenses were accounting for. It was that screen game. It was that short passing attack that he was so good in. And I really do think that with his departure, I just don't think Indiana has somebody as good as what Whop Phillier was in that offense. I think that they need to find somebody who can do that. And they do have talent at the receiver position. It's just
I think DJ Matthews is more than fills that role. I'm just wondering, those plays aren't being called. They're not being ran. They're not being ran with that efficiency. And again, that takes me back to Kalen DeBoer. There's a reason Fresno State is successful, is succeeding, is playing better, is beating teams that are better than they are. They're beating higher. UCLA is a much higher level team. They beat the spread against Oregon. I mean, there's a reason for that. Indiana does not look as good, and it's across the board on offense. So I'm really starting to wonder about, and I loved Kalen DeBoer, and I knew when he left, I was like, man, and this is not a knock on Nick Sheridan, but Indiana had the opportunity then to hire anybody they wanted to for offensive coordinator, because that was a red hot position, and they chose not to. And I said it was a mistake then, and I still mean it. You get the best you can get. You put the best players on the field that you can put. You put the best coaches on the sideline and in the box you can put. That's my opinion on that. And when you don't, that's what happens. So there's that. But Tim with a shout out on the Southern Stone shout out page. And don't forget the Coaches Show tonight at Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. Coach Tom Allen will be there with Don Fisher at 7:05. You can check that out. So please do that. But Tim shouts out, if they lose to Western or barely beat Western Kentucky and Penix has another bad game, well, if they lose or barely beat Western Kentucky, I would imagine Penix is having not a good game. Does Allen still keep him as quarterback, or will he finally give Tuttle a shot. Well, first of all, if that's a game that's close at halftime and it's offensive woes, it's time. I'm already to that point to where, but I don't know that it's the quarterback. I don't know that if we see Jack Tuttle, it matters, because if you're calling the same plays and doing the same thing and making the same mistakes, it's really not going to matter if you're not making the catches. Now, Penix he's made some bad decisions. He's thrown some balls that were not catchable, and he's thrown 6 picks, 4 of which were forced. 2 of which were not his fault, but 4 were on him. I don't know how much the quarterback changes right now. If it depends on what the real issue is, Dustin. Is it the quarterback? Is it coaching? Where is it? I don't know, but I don't think you can hang on to Michael Penix, even though he is the guy. And I never dreamed we'd be having this conversation. But you can't. It's time to do, even if it's wrong, do something. Just to bring him out and talk to him. That's what I said you should have done in the maybe it was Iowa game I talked about. Bring him out early. Just talk to him. Let him sit on the side. Let him see what is going on out there. Let him watch for a minute, if nothing else, for a quarter, if nothing else. But I think you have to try. You have to put Jack Tuttle in. Jack Tuttle. And I know it was probably coincidence, but was it the Idaho game that Penix threw for 68 total yards and Tuttle comes in and throws for a 76-yard touchdown? I know that could be fluky, but you know what? Sometimes flukes turn things around. Sometimes it takes one play to rejuvenate someone. Sometimes you just have to try something different. And I know that we just talked, or I was talking earlier about the Utah situation. What a joke that is, where you have the Brewer kid who transferred in, was a starter, probably going to lose a starting job, walks out on the team 3 games into the season. Yeah. I think he should not be allowed to play freaking college again. You're done to me. I mean, you're dead to me. You're done. But I can't imagine that situation happening. But hey, pull your big boy pants up, man. This is not Pop Warner.
Well, and I think you can look, excuse me, you can look even into the conference. Look at what Northwestern did the other day against Duke. They got down 30-3 or something like that. They made a change. Hunter Johnson threw 3 interceptions. They made a change. They brought in Andrew Marty, and all of a sudden they got within a touchdown. He got injured and had to leave that game, but they made a change during that game, and that's what sparked kind of an offensive rejuvenation. I mean, it didn't look great, but it got them back in the game. And so I think what you're going to have to do is if you get to a certain point against Western Kentucky, you do have to give Jack Tuttle a shot. I'm with you. I'm not so sure that it's all that Michael Penix is taking. He might be taking too much heat, because I just don't know where all. To me, it's offensive line, it's the run game, it's receivers not getting open, it's a combination. But at the same time,
not catching balls,
not catching the passes. Sometimes change is good, and sometimes maybe that's just the spark you need. Maybe Jack Tuttle is going to provide that spark. At some point, whether it's right or wrong, you're going to have to make a change, because at the end of the day, you've got to win football games. You've got to sell season tickets. You've got to get to a bowl game. You've built this program. You can't regress. And I don't see this team now winning 8 or 9 games, but I still think bowl eligibility, getting to 6 wins, is still hugely important, especially if you can get that to that bowl victory. So you have to do something. If it doesn't look good on Saturday against Western Kentucky, you have to do something. And if that means changing the quarterback, then you've got to do it, because you've got to get to 6 wins. You can't have the success you had the past 2 seasons, expect to continue momentum if you don't at least get to a bowl game.
Well, and that has gotten particularly more difficult now from a prediction standpoint, because like you mentioned earlier, Iowa, I probably counted as a win earlier in the year, and I shouldn't have. I had no idea. Well, was thinking they were going to get off to that same slow start they did last year. Not the case. But that aside, they do get the Idaho. I thought they were going to get the Cincinnati win, and they should have gotten the Cincinnati win. Yeah. So that's one they didn't. Western is going to give them 2. Penn State on the road? No, I'm not going to give them that. Michigan State at home? Not if they're playing like they're playing right now.
Nope.
But let's say they win that game, okay? Ohio State at home? Not like they're playing right now. Maryland at home? That's a toss-up. But let's give it to them. That's 4 wins. On the road at Michigan, I thought that they were going to go up and win that game, but not the way they're playing now, and Michigan is looking like they're playing pretty daggone good. Indiana gets Rutgers at home, okay? That should have been a seemingly no-win or no-brainer, but not the case, but I'm going to give it to them. That's 5 wins. Now, that brings you down to the last 2 games of your season with 1 home game and a road game. The home game is against Minnesota, a team that, and they've lost Muhammad Ibrahim, which that hurts, but by the time they get here, they will have adjusted to that. They will have played a crap ton of games between now and then because it's the second to last game. That's not going to be an easy game. But I think Indiana is going to have to win that game to become bowl eligible, because then they go on the road to Purdue, and on the road to Purdue is on the road to Purdue. So that's a toss-up. Indiana could end up being 7-5 this year. And I think a 7-5 season would be a successful rebound and show that they were able to overcome adversity, because they've certainly already gone through adversity. But anything less than 7-5 is terrifically disappointing. It has to be terrifically disappointing.
Well, if you get to 7-5, then you still have a chance to get to 8 wins. You still have a chance to get to a bowl victory and get to 8 wins, and then you can continue some of that momentum. And
yeah, because you're obviously not going to be playing in a very good bowl at 7-5.
The thing to me that's funny is you talked about the teams that they could beat right now. Ohio State might be the team that they have the best shot against, just looking at how poorly they've played defensively. And
that's the thing, and that's another thing. These wins that I didn't give them, all they need is a little bit of offense that gives you some hope. Well, then you know what? Then I'm not worried. Then I wouldn't be worried about the Michigan State game or those other games, or I might give them a shot at Michigan, because Michigan's not great. They pounded on some lower teams, but their biggest problem going to Michigan is probably going to be playing at Michigan.
Yeah.
And Penn State, they might be the best team in the Big East, if not the Big Ten. I don't know. Penn State as a team is probably going to get better as they go along. There's no great teams in the Big Ten this year. That's what's actually fun about it. There's some really good teams, but there's no great team. There's no juggernaut. Ohio State is not the Ohio State. And so I think Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan, Indiana has the best chance of all time to be on even ground with those guys, and they're pissing it away, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that this is the year, and there's no dominant team, I don't think, in any college football. I mean, Alabama almost got beat by Florida last weekend. So this is a great season for college football. If you like parity, if you like even matchups, this is a great opportunity for Indiana to get some wins and beat some teams that they have not beaten in a while. And I know they got Michigan and Wisconsin last year, and they got a chance in Penn State, and they got a chance to maybe beat Ohio State this year, but they've got to play better. I think if they can get some offense and give their defense some rest, it helps. Look at what Michigan State did. They had to rely so heavily on their defense, and that's why they were constantly finishing 6-6, because they got no offensive production. Their defense was always on the field. If you are able to at least score some points, put together some long drives, meticulous drives, that helps out so much, and that gives you a much better shot to beat teams like Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State.
Are you saying matriculate the ball down the field?
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Hank, what was the great coach at Kansas City? Daggone it. Oh, man, it was the old NFL clips they'd show. Oh, they're matriculating the ball down the field.
Yeah.
This is like back in the 70s. Hank Stram.
Hank Stram.
It's one of those clips. Grab. Everyone's grabbing out there. You know, the NFL clips they'd show. Lombardi. Oh, man, I'm too old. Hey, man, we didn't get to really hit on the games. What do you have coming up you'll join us tomorrow. Also, I guess we can get more into that tomorrow. But what do you have coming up from Saturday Tradition that people need to go look at?
We'll have I'll have my bold predictions out on Friday, and then I've also got a column coming out on Friday. Just kind of hitting on all topics of the Big Ten. So just start looking for that every week. I put out my quarterback rankings last night, and power rankings were out earlier this week. So there's plenty from me on SaturdayTradition.com. Just visit our site and enjoy it. It's all Big Ten coverage.
Who's number one quarterback?
Right now it's Taulia Tagovailoa from Maryland.
How about that?
He's played well.
And when you have a top quarterback, that takes care of a lot of problems, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, they were down to Illinois. He put together his last 2 drives, 7 of 8, was able to score 10 points. I mean, Maryland's not a great football team, but the way he's playing, he's completing over 75% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, makes a world of difference. That's why they're 3-0.
Certainly does. All right, buddy. I appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one.
Thanks, Jim.
Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joining us. We'll be back tomorrow to talk some more football. And we'll be back tomorrow or right after this to talk more sports. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for
Yeah, see, that taking him long is great because then that gives us.
Well, taking him long is fine, but you also
I don't care.
You have a couple minutes. I don't know. I just don't like the short segments. That's just me, though.
But see, that gives them better. It's better content. Taking him long is way better content than what this is going to be. So.
I think I just know because back at whenever we first started doing this and you would take people along, sometimes you would skip completely over your break, and then that just makes it sound really bad. But you haven't done that in a long time.
Well, I only did that when we could. Hey, when you get a chance, send me a breakdown of the breaks and what commercials are playing.
Sure. I can take care of that later this weekend. And I forgot to make the new intro last weekend. I'm gonna try to do that this weekend instead, the one that includes Southern Stone.
And I'm going to cut a new
Andy Moore.
Yeah.
I know we definitely need a Remax commercial. We don't have one of those.
All right, so we need Remax. Hey, how long is that? You know that clip I add on the end of the Andy Moore that Andy Moore is actually talking? That's only like 2 seconds or something, isn't it?
It's like 3 or 4 seconds, maybe.
Okay. I just want to leave space for that.
For her to send you something.
Who?
Or Cheryl Sizemore. It's kind of thought you were referring to.
No, Andy Moore.
Oh, you're talking about the new Andy Moore commercials. See, I thought you were still talking about Remax.
When Andy Moore talks at the end, how long is that?
It's like 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I want to make sure I leave room for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just going to be a voiceover. You can just put it over the same music and everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You'll have about 5 minutes coming back here if you want to. I don't know what you want to talk about. We have press conference clips if you want to go over.
That's exactly when we're going to go.
Okay. You got you got it written down. Hendershot, Raheem Lane, and Caleb Jones.
Front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Hey, David. I wish I was in Jacksonville.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Looks to be a Jury Wednesday, but that's okay. We're here. You're here. So might as well stay it. Dave Cattell says hi from Jacksonville. Man, you got Hoosiers all over the place. I wish I was in Jacksonville getting some Whataburger. Man, they were purchased by a Chicago firm, and we're supposed to start seeing Whataburgers in other places. I think there's one in Nashville, maybe. That's nice. Scott says his new prediction for football is 5 or 7 or 6 and 6. They go 5 and 7. There's got to be some heads rolling on that. That's horrible. 6 and 6 is abysmal. 7 and 5. If they don't get 7 and 5, that's bad. Let's see. Jesse thinks that IU's in big trouble in road games. You could see the look in Penix's eyes in the Iowa game. Big time rattled. Well, easy to do. First time back. First time in front of a crowd in 2 years. Understandable. Sam asked about Peyton Hendershot on the Southern Stone shout-out board. Peyton Hendershot, one of the captains of this team, spoke at the pressers on Monday, and it was emotional for him. It was the first time he'd been brought up there, and as a captain, with all he's gone through, I think he started to answer the question, and he literally walked off the podium and said, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just real nervous. I'm real nervous. It meant being a captain means a lot to him after what all he's gone through. This is not about that, I think. But, John, roll the Peyton Hendershot clip.
Last year, I didn't feel really, invested in the team. And, so it was kind of hard to go out there on Saturdays and give my all. But, this year, I feel very invested in the team. I feel like I built a lot of relationships with the brothers on the team, the guys on the team. I feel like I've done the most about hanging out with the guys to get to know them. So I feel like that's a big part of what went into me being a captain, but it's just also, working so hard. I just wanted to let everybody know, I wasn't going to let what I did last year happen again, so I did everything I could. Sorry. I'm nervous. I'm sorry. But I just built relationships with my teammates this year, and I just feel like that was a big part of playing him to become the captain this year.
I don't know if he was if he felt it coming, how you feel that emotion coming on, and he wanted to get off there before it happened, but he walked off. He came right back, as you heard, but it was emotional for him. He talked about last year's incident that almost cost him his football playing career, and to be made captain, that's a lot. It means a lot to those guys. So it's good to hear that from him. Caleb Jones, big is not a word. This dude is a giant, man. Gentle giant. He's so well-spoken. He's 6'8", gigantic dude. But, Indiana's offensive lineman. Let's hear what Caleb had to say.
Western Kentucky is a really good defensive team. They got a lot of guys that are returning, a lot of older guys. Their strong point, I would say, would probably be their defensive line. They've got a lot of returning guys that have a lot of games played. Besides that, I think that we're going to go out there, we're going to execute our game plan and, this game to the best of our ability. I don't really know what plays we're going to be calling, but I know that, when we get out there, we'll be able to do whatever it is that we need to do to get this win.
Very, very well spoken, but man, what a giant. You could see the background. If you were watching, they always have the Indiana football background behind those guys. And it was, I could not have the top of the background in because the angle had to go up so high. Man, that dude, if he can move his feet and stay up, got an NFL career in front of him. Raheem Lane also spoke Monday. Let's hear what Raheem had to say.
The transition's been pretty smooth because the coaching staff did a really good job of making sure we're prepared from week to week. And then just being out there on Saturdays, it just feels natural back there. I like just being able to come down and make tackles and stuff. So I just I have fun, and I feel like the transition was very smooth.
There's Raheem Lane. It's going to have to be smooth. They're going to be a lot smoother this week than they have been, especially on offense, because that is where the problems lie. And like I said, I'm not sure that it's with Michael Penix, but if it is, they're going to have to make an adjustment sooner rather than later. because they go forward now. You're getting to Big Ten play. There's no more gimme games, no more learning games. And if it's going to have to be Tuttle, if that is the problem, that he needs to get some reps before they go to Happy Valley. But all that's to be laid out. We'll see what happens in Bowling Green this weekend. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. The great Bob Kravitz and Rick Bozich, 2 Hall of Famers joining us. Looking forward to that. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking... Hello, Richard.
Hi, how are you?
Got the red hat on today, man.
There you go.
Represents nothing, I can see.
Nobody paid me.
It's hard to find. It is so hard to find a hat that has nothing on it.
That's true.
Zip.
That's true.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I still got that stupid red White Sox shirt in the car that I didn't bring in. I couldn't believe it. I was so stinking mad. Are you coming to any more?
At the end of the game, did you go somewhere to do a show or something, or where did you go?
Yeah, it was after the pressers. Yeah, I do a wrap up with clips from the pressers embedded into the post game show.
Got it.
Rick, are you able to wipe off your camera a little bit at all?
Yeah. Let me get a rag.
And by the way, I should have told you what Raheem Lane was talking about. He was talking about his transition from corner to safety. I realized that was kind of...
That's all right. We're past it.
Yeah. Bob tried to join a second ago. Oh, here he comes.
I thought he was on first.
He was. No,
Hello, Bobby.
How are you, sir?
Good. Rick Bozich is on with us. That's why.
Good.
Hi, Bob. How's that better?
Rick.
Is that better?
Figure 2. Oh,
yeah, it's better, Rick.
Figure 2 Hall of Famers are better than 1.
What were you wanting to call this? Scratch the Itch with Bob and Rick or something?
Yeah, there you go. that was my name. Scratch the Itch with Bob and Rick. Kravitz and Bozich.
Oh, boy.
I'm kidding, but that popped right into my name, my head.
What are you, Bozich? You Serbian?
What's that?
You Serbian?
Yes.
I
Look
figured
at you. Look at you.
Well, my next door neighbor for a long time was Bosnian.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Well, mine's easy, but no one gets it. Coyle.
Yeah, you're. What are you?
Scottish.
Irish.
Yeah. That makes sense.
See, no one ever gets it. It's so Boyle, Doyle, Coyle. No one ever gets it.
Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Coming back.
And all the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. And, man, we have certainly kicked it up a big notch or two. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Guys, thank you. How are you?
Great.
Doing tremendous.
Let's see, baseball. I know Rick's a big baseball fan. He's got the White Sox. They're rolling, man. They're heading into the postseason. They're doing fine. The Reds, my team is just – they have given away the postseason. They had games against Pittsburgh and whatever else lower league division team they could play and can't beat any of them. They lost to the Pirates again last night. Who is your baseball team, Bob? I can't remember.
I grew up a New York Mets fan.
Oh, you and Brockway, man.
Yeah. Oh, is Brockway on Mets?
Yeah. Well, he's from Queens.
Well, maybe. Oh, that's right. Maybe I'll switch to the Yankees then.
Well, you might as well, because that's another loser. But plus, that's
No,
another
no.
loser, man. They were
No, I will
freaking
never
first
switch
place.
to the Yankees. If you grow up in New York, it's Jets or Giants. It's it's the Islanders or the Rangers, Mets, Yankees. There's no line of demarcation. You're one or the other.
Where did you grow up in New York?
I grew up out in Long Island.
Long Island, cool. He's a Queens guy, Brockwell.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's part of Long Island. So yeah, I did not know that. We'll have to talk about our beloved 1969 Miracle Mets.
There you go. I remember reading about Tom Seaver when I was a kid because I was not old enough to watch him play, but that's my sports number for my my sports number throughout my career was 41, but it was from Tom Seaver. That's where I got that from.
He was my idol growing up as a kid.
And I learned something else the other day. Ron Felling was on, Rick.
Oh, wow.
He was a health teacher at your high school. Did you know that?
Ron Felling was a health teacher at Merrillville High School?
Yeah. I had to leave a little bit early, and afterwards I were talking about it. He taught, because I know you went to the same school with Popovich, and he was Popovich's health teacher. I'm like, well, hell, he may have been Bozich's health teacher.
I didn't have him. I only knew him from Lawrenceburg or Lawrenceville or wherever it was in Illinois when he had Jay Scheidler, who went to Kentucky, and Marty Simmons, who went to Indiana, and that's what got him to IU.
I did not know he had Jay Scheidler. That's where he came from? Holy crap.
That's
the
how
blonde bomber.
The blonde bomber.
Yeah, he was on yesterday Monday with Charlie Miller and just telling great stories. But lots of names and going back in the past. But Bob, what have you been working on this week?
Well, I went down to the Pacers offices, and I got a Q&A with Rick Carlisle coming out either today or tomorrow. It kind of depends on Carson Wentz's ankle situation. If we're in DEFCON 5, I think I might be writing a column. But if he's going to be okay, I'm going to write Carlisle. Also doing kind of a Q&A, give and take kind of thing prior to the Colts and Titans game. So basically, I can't play golf, so I guess I got to work.
It seems like the Colts quarterback situation is just a week-to-week health situation that has been up through the season so far.
Well, look, I'm right about stuff about 11% of the time, give or take 11%.
That's a pretty precise number.
Yeah, and I wrote 2 columns prior to the season that they needed to go out and get a veteran backup for Carson Wentz. Because he does have this unfortunate injury history, and it's not that he's, not a tough guy. It's just the way he plays the game. And, and secondly, because he is not vaccinated, he does have a higher risk of getting COVID or missing a game because of COVID contact. So I've been screaming about this. If they go into a division game with Jacob Eason, I think that's GM malpractice. I really do. And to think that Gardner Minshew, who you can win with, was traded for a 6th-round draft choice. You telling me the Colts wouldn't rather have Gardner Minshew starting on Sunday in Tennessee than Jacob Eason?
Absolutely. Rick, I know it's busy, Jory, you follow everything, but do you get a chance to follow a ton of NFL with everything that's going on this time of year?
I follow some. I'm a Bears fan, and the Jay Cutler years turned me off to the Bears. I've been a fan of the Bears since Butkus and Sayers and those guys, and not one time have they had a legitimate quarterback ever. They might finally have.
We'll always have Bob Avellini.
Jack Concannon, Bobby Douglas, Larry Rakestraw. I can name all of them.
What was that from the 50s?
Huh?
What was that from the 60s?
Bobby Douglas was late 60s. Jack Concannon. Yeah, they were Vince Evans, Jim Miller, Eric Kramer. I can name them all. Steve Fuller.
Did Ditka ever play for the Bears? He played for the Cowboys, right? He did play for the Bears?
Ditka played for the Bears in the early 60s. So he was on their 1963 NFL championship team pre-Super Bowl.
Very
when
cool.
The quarterback was Bill Wade. I follow mainly in the NFL the local guys because of Lamar Jackson being such a popular player here. A lot of Ravens fans walk around with his jersey on. Some Teddy Bridgewater fans. This is a strange city. I've asked multiple times what the most popular team is, and most of the time when I get people to respond, it's the Steelers.
I was going to say, I think it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because they were winners and people kind of got on board. And then the second, you got Bengals fans because you're close to Cincinnati, but they rarely are that good. You got Colts fans because they're close to Indy, more of those in Southern Indiana. But you also have a lot of Packers fans, and that goes back to Paul Hornung. And you have a lot of Browns fans, and that goes back to the 60s when the Browns pre-Bengals were the team that was on television here.
Right,
So
right.
there's not really one team that people – right now I'd say, it's probably the Ravens because of Lamar.
And Rick's talking about down in Louisville, Kentucky, because they don't have a pro team there, but you produce players, and they just kind of, like he mentioned, all those great players of the past, Hornung from Notre Dame, and then of course with the Packers, and then and here of late, Lamar Jackson, Teddy Bridgewater was on that track too, and he's still playing. But Louisville's produced a ton of quarterbacks, man. That played
starting
NFL.
with Unitas, but Chris Redmond played for a while in the league. Dave Ragone, who's now the offensive coordinator of the Falcons, the Brown brothers, who were more known for coaching now than the way they played as pros, and then Bridgewater, and now Lamar.
And Bob, you just had a piece on
I did.
on Johnny U.
I did. We had an NFL top 100. And Johnny Unitas was tabbed, I believe, 9th overall. No, I don't tab him. I mean, we have a board of rabbis who do that. But what I found interesting in reading a book about him by Tom Callahan, which is really, really good. I don't read a lot of sports books, but this one was worth reading. He almost transferred to Indiana University. He was not entirely happy at Louisville. They were losing a lot of games despite his presence, and he almost went to IU. How about that?
So Indiana could have had Johnny Unitas and Newt Rockne,
and they still would have lost.
They turned Newt Rockne down, by the way.
I did not know that.
Yes, Newt Rockne. I remember. I've read the letter. He wrote a letter to Indiana inquiring about I think it was an assistant's job, and they turned him down. We don't need him.
They got Jerry DiNardo, so it all evened out.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. Exactly. Eventually,
Cameron.
It all comes back around. Sam White's for a season.
We all know the list.
And talking about all these different programs that at Louisville have been able to come up and down, and Indiana was never able to do that. And everyone's always asked why. I think, doing some history that I've done, I think it's simply over the racial issues that happened in the 60s. When there's the African-American players that left the team, walked off the team. And to me, that was the problem, because they had been successful in the 40s, in the 60s, up until then. And then, bam, that happened. And, man, it was like a punch in the face that they weren't able to come back from, or didn't care to come back from.
Right. That was another story that nobody read in the Athletic that I wrote, that these guys, they felt that they were being mistreated. And that was a team. I see John Eisenbarger all the time because we both go to the same golf club. And that team, they went to the Rose Bowl, and the team the next year was going to be as good, if not better. And you had a lot of the racial problems. Dr. Edwards, Harry Edwards, came to campus, got guys, opened some of their eyes to the power that they wielded, and they decided that they had enough. So yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, please do go back and read that in The Athletic, theathletic.com.
Absolutely. Those are great stories. Absolutely.
That's why I think I did read it. That's Larry Highball and those guys, right?
Exactly. So if somebody read it, cool.
Yeah, I did read it.
Good.
See,
okay, I'm happy now. now.
And I'm a subscriber. What are you talking about?
All right. Well, I didn't know if a lot of people read that story.
Football, obviously, Indiana's season is not going. It's not record-wise terribly far from where they probably should be. Actually, they shouldn't be any better than 2-1, but they should be 2-1. Iowa game, Iowa's just simply a better team, better coach. They were better prepared. Cincinnati, I don't think they're a top 10 team. Indiana had and you can forget about the Micah McFadden thing I mentioned earlier. They just passed on opportunity after opportunity to not make their own mistakes and win that game. And Indiana is just playing bad football, mistake-wise. They're just making mistakes that are all self-inflicted that had nothing to do with Micah McFadden. The forced interception near halftime at midfield, the fumble at the 2, roughing the passer on a stop third down, all those led to scores and turnarounds. And all of that completely. And it's like, man, and I really wonder how much does not having a guy like Kalen DeBoer here hurt, because he had things rolling smoothly. He's got Fresno State. They're 2-1. They have upset UCLA. They played Oregon tough. They're playing great football, not making those kinds of mistakes. I don't know that how much of this is Penix and it's not his comfortability with where he was last year with Kalen DeBoer.
Well, I'd be curious to know what Rick thinks, but I think it all comes down to Michael Penix. And quite frankly, if they should somehow fall behind to a team that can really score, of course, they don't play anybody, but they can really score. I have a short leash on Michael Penix. He just does not look right, whether it's physical or mental or a little bit of both. I don't think it's a coaching thing. I just think that, and I feel terrible for the kid. I really thought he had a chance to maybe play on Sundays, as you watched him last year going for 491 in Columbus and looking as good as he did. But I tell you what, I like Tuttle. And if they're struggling or if he's struggling, I think I make the move. Rick?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's got to get it right against Western Kentucky for sure. It's their most winnable game they have left by far. And it's a game they can't afford to lose. And it's a more difficult game than I think the average people think. Western was off last week. They have a whole extra week to prepare. They got a legitimate passing game with this kid named Bailey Zappi that they brought in from Houston Baptist, who's putting up these ridiculous numbers. He had a little bit of a bad half against Army, but in the second half, Army couldn't really slow him down. And I think it's a mistake for Indiana actually to play in Bowling Green. Kentucky and Louisville have both played Western in these home and home series, but the games that were Western's home game, they actually played them in Nashville in the Titan Stadium. So you're going and playing this team in their home thing where this is like their game. They've got circled for a real big deal. So Indiana has to go down there and perform. And beyond just Penix, though, I mean, the offensive line isn't good. I mean, you have to at least, when you're averaging, I don't even know what Carr's average against the good teams. Isn't he averaging like less than 3 yards per carry?
Yeah. Like in the last game, it was 2.5.
Yeah, it's not good enough. I mean, you have to make people respect the fact that you can run the ball. And one of the things with Penix, people talk about his confidence is, I think defenses also know that he's not a threat or he's not comfortable running the ball. And
it's true.
When Indiana was good on offense, Peyton Ramsey did give the defense something to think about because he could run and get first downs. And Penix did that some when he was younger. So they got to figure it out quick.
Yeah, and the thing I don't get, though, is why the offensive line is not good. These are all veterans. As a team, they've got 16 returning starters, but I think 9 of those were on offense, and a majority of that on the offensive line. And you've added some good pieces, Zach Carpenter, and it looks like they went the other direction, like they've put in a bunch of new faces that are still trying to catch on. So that's really, I don't understand how they look worse than they did a year ago.
I mean, they just might not, that might be who they are, and they're not capable of getting better. They're playing at the best they can play. The offensive line play hasn't been good for several years. Not good enough to win. I know they won 6 games last year, but the games they lost, the offensive line wasn't great. It wasn't great against Ole Miss last year in the bowl game.
Kane Womack, by the way, and
he's undefeated, isn't he?
He's 3-0, and Kalen DeBoer, or they're 2-1, and Kalen DeBoer is playing a Pac-12 schedule so far with Oregon and UCLA. But yeah, and he's 3-0, so they're 5-1 to start their season. That's something else Indiana has lost. They've lost coordinators that are winning at their schools. So
and Mike Hart, Michigan's unbeaten since Mike Hart went up there.
And they're looking. I mean, I know that they haven't played anyone outstanding yet, but they're scoring 60 points in a game. That's a lot of points, which in Indiana put up a lot of points against Idaho, but that was mostly on defense. I haven't paid attention to Michigan, but they sure seem like they're playing a lot better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. After this game against Western Kentucky, the next 3 teams Indiana plays all ranked in the top 20.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, you have to go to Penn State, who might be the best team in the Big Ten East or the Big Ten right now. I'm not sure.
And you think they haven't gotten a little tired of hearing about Michael Penix diving in the end zone?
Absolutely. So yeah, the Big Ten, there's no juggernaut this year. There's no Ohio State juggernaut. A lot of parity, at least it looks like on the Big Ten East side. On the West, Iowa kind of seems to be the team. I don't know if Wisconsin can challenge them over there. They look pretty strong, but on the East is looking like it usually looks. The Big Four. I don't know if Indiana's going to fit into that or not, but we'll find out. Now Indiana has to fight for bowl eligibility. Rick,
Exactly.
They went from expected to win 8 games. I thought they should have won 8 games. Now you got to start counting games because Maryland is playing really good with Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. I've talked earlier. Just having a quarterback with confidence, man, that gives you a chance when you probably don't always have a chance.
And there's no question. I mean, everybody thought Indiana's offense was going to be better this year with the receivers back. I think they thought Carr would be an upgrade over Stevie Scott because he's a faster, more elusive back, but hadn't happened. And, that Cincinnati game, I think they're going to go back, and there's so many ways they could have won that game. The way they turned down that field goal early in the game, then they went for it, and Allen said it was a bobbled snap. And then the interception and McFadden getting thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
And then another interception and burning timeouts in the second half. And they should have won that game. They should have won the game by 2 touchdowns instead of losing it by 2 touchdowns. And then I think the whole narrative around this team would be 180 degrees different.
Well, let me ask you guys. You're both there in the front row of the press box along with me. I felt that it was targeting, and I wonder what. And obviously, Tom Allen did not think it was targeting. What did you guys think?
I've only seen the replay one time. It looked like it was targeting.
Okay.
I don't think it was intentional, but it was targeting.
Yeah, their faces, like you said, the contact was there. But here's the thing: I don't know why they've waited to change this rule because it's idiotic. An unintentional act cannot result in ejection from a game. You can go and virtually body slam a guy and get an unnecessary roughness penalty, but not get tossed, depending on the subjectivity of it. You can get a pretty good flag and not get tossed, but you get an inadvertent targeting call and you're gone. And it just makes 0 sense to me. And I can't understand why they've taken this long to change that portion of the rule. I know the first year they were.
Indiana's defense collapsed to that level without McFadden. I know he's a really good player, but it's like he's not, Ray Lewis or, something like a super elite player. I mean,
he was 13 All-American. That's something that I mentioned in my column. I mean, if you're a good team, if you're a team that has designs on being really competitive in the Big Ten East, you got to overcome the loss of one player.
Right.
Yep.
It's not like you're losing Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or Lamar. You're losing your quarterback, linebacker. He's the captain. He's 13 All-American. I'm sorry, you can't fall apart the way they fell apart once McFadden was out of the game.
No, and I think that penalty, that third down penalty came after he was out of the game, I believe. I think it was on Thomas Allen, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it was.
The roughing. Yeah, the roughing. So, who was in for him? But yeah, I agree. I don't know why, because he's not playing every snap anyway. I don't know if it was an emotional thing for them or what happened, but you could feel and see the tone change, and it was very odd. A lot of times you see that offensively when an impactful player leaves, that it takes them a while to catch up, but they never did get back on page. And I can't believe that they couldn't regather themselves.
And you would think with that crowd, and that was one hell of a crowd, you would think with that group of human beings in the stands making all the noise and causing all the ruckus they did, that, they would be able to overcome. And I realize Indiana isn't quite as deep yet as the truly elite teams are in the Big Ten, but still, it's one player, and I got to think that, Thomas Allen, he's a coach's kid. Obviously, he knows what he's supposed to do. I just can't imagine that there's that much fall off.
Well, there shouldn't be. There absolutely shouldn't be. Not if you have depth. Not if you talk about one of the things that you have is depth now, and defense is the side of the ball. They're probably the deepest, if you want to be honest. They've worked on that. You've had transfers come in, the guys that have come in from the SEC, the ACC, and all kinds of different places to fill in, and they haven't picked up. They haven't dropped off, but they haven't really picked up, and the offense has definitely dropped off. And I'm really starting to wonder if this on I don't know how much of this is on Michael Penix, which he's not doing some of the things he needs to do. He's missing passes. He's forcing some of these, but then there's other parts of the game that I'm really starting to wonder about.
Yep. I agree with you.
This weekend, a lot of games, Rick, that you've got on your notebook. I'm looking at right now. The ACC, man, I talked about how they've fallen off, but at least they had Clemson. Boy, that's Clemson starting to fall away. If they were to take another loss, that would just leave the ACC devoid of any chance at a college football playoff.
Yeah, I don't think the ACC will have a team in the playoff this year. Clemson looks very vulnerable. Their offense is ordinary at best, and they could take another loss for sure. North Carolina was supposed to be the second best team, and they haven't been great either. And after that, there's not really anybody to step forward. I think are there any other undefeated teams in the ACC? No,
I don't think so.
Forest. Isn't Wake Forest undefeated? I think they are.
I'll have to pull them up, but of all teams, that's not
Boston Colleges.
Boston College and Wake Forest. There we go. Two of them.
Two football juggernauts that we're used to seeing.
That dude at Wake Forest is a good coach, though. He was a good coach at Bowling Green, Dave Clawson, and he's been a good coach. That's not an easy place to win, and he's done pretty well there.
And now, was he head coach at Bowling Green?
Yes.
No, Bowling Green, not in Bowling Green, at Bowling Green. Yeah, I was thinking Western Kentucky on my mind.
I think he might have beaten Indiana once up there at Bowling Green when IU played them at Bowling Green. That's the worst. The Indiana schedule is not good. They should. I know they had no way of knowing Cincinnati was going to be that good, but when you're a program like Indiana, you got to do what Kansas State used to do. You got to do what Kentucky has done for a number of years, like this year. You've got to schedule 3 non-conference wins. You got to.
Yep.
Because you're playing 9 conference games, not 8, like they do in the SEC and the ACC. And so if you want to make sure you go to a bowl every year, you have to schedule 3 non-conference wins.
Purdue not getting off to as great a start as probably Jeff Brom would like to see. They're doing okay, but David Bell took a shot last week. Don't know what his situation is. This is a big year for Jeff Brom. I think it's a bowl game, or there's going to be a lot of questions regarding him when you're paying a guy as much as he's getting paid, and it just hasn't worked out at Purdue for a lot of injuries he's had during his time there. But that they don't care when they're paying you $5.5 million a year. They want to win.
Yeah, I don't know what the buyout is, Rick. Maybe you do.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends on that. But yeah, I look, since that first year, which was just, revelation, it's been a whole lot of nothing. And he hasn't been able to get the kind of quarterback in here that's
the most shocking thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cradle of quarterbacks, and You would think with the style that Purdue plays and the style that Purdue has always played, it seems, at least since Joe Tiller, that they would have somebody behind center who could really play at a high level. But it just hasn't happened. I mean, Plummer is Plummer. He's, seems like a nice kid, but nothing special.
Rick, I would think that there would be a lot of quarterbacks standing. I would think that Purdue's quarterback room would look more like Indiana's, with Jack Tuttle in the wings and Donovan McCulley in the wings and Josh Hoover from 6A Texas coming in next year. And that hasn't been the case at all. And it shocks me because Jeff Brom, I look at him as a great offensive mind. He played quarterback. He was a tough dude. And he, like Bob said, he's not getting the guy that he needs.
Yeah, I think they thought Plummer was going to be the guy, and it hasn't developed as quickly or as well as they hoped it would. And is this don't they have a freshman up there from Gibson Southern or some kid from Southern Indiana who's supposed to be the next guy in the pipeline?
If he's not there, he's going there. Yeah. Is he a freshman there now or a senior in high school?
Or he's a high school senior, one or the other, but they have the best quarterback in the state coming at some point. So we'll see. The next two are critical for them. They're 2-1. And they think they have this weekend they have Illinois at home. That should be a W, get them to 3-1. And then they have Minnesota at home. Minnesota's a team they're capable of beating. Nebraska's not that good. He's got to get to 6 this year, and I think he can do it. It might come down to the last game of the year. Who knows? It could be one of those, we've never seen this before, Indiana versus Purdue in the old Oak and Bucket game, and the winner goes to a bowl.
Nice.
Brady Allen, so you were talking about.
Is he there or he's coming?
Well, let's see. This was from 2020 and says that he committed to Purdue, so I'm trying to figure out if he was – well, he was a junior then, so I'm thinking he's a senior in high school.
All right,
now.
So he's got another year. He's their guy.
But yeah, he's got a ton of stats. He's a 6'5" quarterback. As a year ago, he had already thrown for nearly 2,700 yards and 31 touchdowns. That was just through his sophomore season. So that's not bad. So yeah, big 6'5" guys with prototypical type quarterbacks. So
he's gotten the receivers. He hadn't gotten the quarterback. I mean, he had Rondell, he had David Bell. He's got Milton Wright, who is down from Louisville. He's a good player. I think he's got a freshman receiver who's not bad.
Yeah, it's just like having offense, defense at the same time, man. If you don't have them both, you're not going to get it done. Basketball's coming soon. Hoosier Hysteria, October 2nd. The first time that the Indiana fans will get to see the team, Mike Woodson. That's got to be Rick, that's got to be a tremendous experience for Mike Woodson when he comes out of that tunnel as a coach for the first time. Even though it's Hoosier Hysteria, it may be the best time of the year because he can just relax and not worry about a game. But to come out of that tunnel as the head coach, I would think that's going to be a high mark in his career and life.
Yeah, it's the last time he's going to come out of the tunnel, and people aren't going to be criticizing some of the stuff he does. So
That's the truth.
He's undefeated. It's the last time he'll come out undefeated.
The shot clock's running on the honeymoon. We'll just start playing some games. At this point in Archie Miller's career, everybody was excited too. But yeah, I think they've got a nice program plan. They have a bunch of recruits coming in. It's their chance to sort of introduce them to the next. Indiana fans, as we all know, they've got pent up demand to get back to what they used to be. This isn't going to be the year they get back to what they used to be, and it's probably going to be Purdue's year. But I think they at least feel optimistic that they're heading the right direction.
How good do you think Purdue is really going to be? I know that they've got tons of IU or of Indiana recruits. They've got a lot back. How good are they really going to be?
I think they're for sure a top 10 team, maybe top 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Bob?
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, I think that they can make the Final Four. I really do. I mean, how likely is that? Not terribly likely. But, look, I love Jaden Ivey. I love, Williams. I think Williams coming back this year makes all the difference, right? Williams, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not in basketball mode yet. So these names are, but I love their freshman class from last year. the two freshmen coming in this year, I think it can make a big impact. I see them winning the Big Ten, or at least being a top 2 team in the Big Ten, and I could see them going a long way. I think they learned a lot losing to the mean green of Texas Southern or Eastern or Northern or whatever the hell they were.
Mean
the
Joe
Mighty
Green
Mites.
University.
The Mean Joe Green University.
Yeah, the Mighty Mites. They got ran. They ran them out. What do they say in Hoosiers? Ran them off the board like mites, but ran them off.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob, what
at the end of last year, Ivy looked like one of the best, guards in the Big Ten.
Oh, no doubt.
And Brandon Newman, I think, can get better as a shooter. Still have Stefanovic. You got Zach Edey, who's going to give teams problems. And as Bob mentioned, you got Kaufman and First coming in as freshmen. I mean, they've got all the pieces. This is as much talent as Matt Painter's had on a team there. It's probably more talented than the Hummel, Etuan Moore, Juwan Johnson team.
Ooh, you gonna go there?
Yeah,
well, as a whole, I think he's right. As a whole, you look across the board, man. They're so much deeper.
Yeah,
so much deeper than that.
And Painter's a more experienced coach now. That was pretty earlier in his career.
That's true. That's true too. I'm
Bob,
looking forward to seeing them play.
What do you have coming up next, Bob?
Well, basically, I got the Q&A with Rick Carlisle. They have their media day Monday and start training camp. I will have the latest, or somebody from the Athletic will have the latest on Carson Wentz. And we're all sitting here hoping it's not the worst. And doing a little give and take on the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts game coming up on Sunday. Of course, we'll be eating barbecue Saturday night somewhere in Nashville. I will be behaving myself because that's how I roll. And I'll be covering the game on Sunday in Nashville.
So are you going to the Indiana game on Saturday?
I am not.
You could have killed 2 birds in one stone. Western Kentucky Bowling Green is right on the way to Nashville, and it's a Saturday night game.
Well, let's see. Saturday night. Would I rather hang out in Nashville, barbecue, and maybe go into a couple of honky tonks, or Indiana versus Western Kentucky? What would you do, Rick Bozich? You're a hardworking man. You might go to the game.
No, I'm not going to the game. That's Western Kentucky press box is one of the my 5
worst
least favorites in the country. So,
well, let me tell you, there are several IU media members that will not be sitting in the press box, but outside of the press box.
Oh, I hope it doesn't
rain. I told you that. It might be better sitting outside the press box.
So there you go. There's that.
I'll get you to go box, Jim.
Perfect. But I love it. I'm going to take a damn umbrella. First time I'm having to take an umbrella to cover an event. Make sure you give Bob a follow at The Athletic and read the story about all of his stories. But make sure you read the story about the one we were talking about, early about Indiana football program. Talk about
Appreciate
that.
it.
Rick at WDRB.com. What do you got coming up next?
Louisville, Florida State is this weekend. Kentucky, South Carolina, and Indiana, Western Kentucky. So, and it's most importantly, it's my grandson's birthday on Friday and my wife's birthday on Sunday. So,
my daughter just got married last weekend, so we're fingers crossed. We're waiting on that grandchild.
Already?
Yeah, she's been married. She's been married a week. Let's go.
When was the wedding?
A week ago.
Well, you were at the game. What day was the wedding?
2 weeks. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
The IU Iowa game, because I was watching IU and Iowa while the girls were getting their while they're doing whatever it is that women do. So 2 weeks ago.
Because I saw you in Bloomington on Saturday. I was thinking,
yeah,
wow,
2 weeks ago.
That's pretty bold. If you missed your daughter's wedding to come to the IU Cincinnati.
Well, I'm all about having my priorities in order, Rick.
It's like the famous Tony Kornheiser line. They asked him what he wanted for Father's Day, and he said, "I want to be able to play golf on Mother's Day."
Oh man, he's hilarious. You guys are the best. Make sure you give them both a follow. Bob Kravitz at The Athletic, Rick Bozich at WDRB.com. Appreciate you guys, man. Look forward to it. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Have a great
See you,
weekend.
Rick.
Bye.
Hey, we're back with more. Bob Kravitz brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants and Rick Bozich by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. So if you're up around the Indy area, go to one of the Sam's restaurants. And if you're down in Clarksville, go to Bubba's 33. We got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
Man, I've got to go get my phone fixed. This sucker just keeps dying on me, shutting off. Every time I look down, it's shut off, and it's charged 1,000%. Will you just go back and put a commercial break in that?
I was just going to have you do 2 10-minute segments to finish up. So you don't have to go a full 20 here.
We can do that. All right, so I need Big Ten Media Day creds. Man,
that's crazy. Creds. That's so close. But it
Jesus.
Makes sense.
Pacers. Media Day.
I am calling it in the thumbnail, by the way. Scratch the itch with Bob and Rick. I got it looking good.
Scratch your itch.
Not the itch. I think it's too inappropriate. I don't think it's bad. Terry Miners has a segment on his show called Haley and the Knobs. And that's worse than Scratch the Itch, I think.
Scratch your sports itch.
That just sounds like too much. Scratch the Itch is simple and it's catchy. Let's do a poll. Do a poll. Have your
But the itch is anything. The sports itch.
Well, there's a picture of the topic. So I've got Tom Allen on the front. They know it's going to be about Tom Allen or something when they see it. You can't give it not a silly name.
All right, do the poll real quick. You got a 2-minute poll to do.
Well,
people tell us.
Do you want should the segment be titled "Scratch the Itch" or "Scratch Your Sports Itch"?
No, should it be called "Scratch the Itch"? Should it be called "Scratch the Itch" with Rick and Bob, or Bob and Rick rather, or should it be "Scratch Your Sports Itch" with Bob and Rick? Bozich, get it? Because they're both last names, Kravitz, Bozich. I know, I'm explaining to them.
Someone said, did someone
Jock
say
itch? Jock itch. That's funny. Jock itch. Pure jock itch with Bob and Rick.
You would need Dockish for that, I feel like.
This flipping phone. All right.
We're coming back in 15 almost, by the way, just to let you know.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, September 22nd. I mentioned earlier the Hoosier Hysteria coming up. Let's see, is that October 2nd? What day is that on? Surely it's a Saturday. Yeah, it's a Saturday. And so that's a week from Saturday, 4 p.m. So you can get there and then disperse to go watch the Indiana football game against Penn State, which you never can tell. Right now, it looks like if they played Indiana, would get their asses handed to them. Let's be honest. But things change. You get your stuff together, but I don't know if they can do that because I just haven't seen much improvement on offense. That is my concern. And I guess there's no sense in beating that into the ground. But, man, Western Kentucky is kind of a scary team, especially on the road. Western is they've scored 59 points against UT Martin. They lost to Army 38-35. But we'll see. The defense is not. I'm going to be curious to see what the defense does against this vaunted Western. This is the toughest offense Indiana has seen this year. Way much tougher than Cincinnati. Obviously, way tougher than Idaho, and even Iowa, for that matter. Now they don't have the offensive line that Iowa has, but they have an offense that Iowa does not have. So it's going to be interesting to see how they are able to pick up on all that. And if they're able to not, whether or not they score all the time, if they keep the defense on the field a lot, this offense is going to have to basically stop making mistakes. They cannot make the mistakes that they've been making and win this game on offense. Your defense is not going to win every game for you by scoring. So it's a little disconcerting to be talking about it, the season in this regard right now, but it is what it is, man. And they're going to have to come around. It's up to them. It's up to that team and those coaches and that coaching staff to get that changed. But we'll see. We will certainly see. Let's see. A lot of high school action going on this weekend. Cal Neddenrip normally with us. We'll try to get him on later, because I think we're going into week 5. No, IU does not look past Western and think about Penn State. They can't look past anybody. Does Western look past Indiana and think about Michigan State? No. They've had a week off, and I'm sure they're probably preparing for both a little bit. But they have Michigan State next week. So their schedule doesn't get any easier either. And I'm pretty certain Michigan State is not going to be playing in Bowling Green. I would imagine that not be the case. Russ Bonnell just updated a news release. Mask required for Hoosier hysteria. I have to go back and check my press releases. I don't see anything just yet new, but I'm sure that will be coming out. I was surprised it didn't come out to begin with, to be honest with you. We're in Monroe County, so I was shocked that they not requiring them anyway. And I'll be honest, that's going to suck. But it is what it is. And it sucked last year with nobody in there, being at those games, where having to wear that mask with nobody in there and not even sitting next to someone. But now we were able to sit at the bottom last year because no one was. Now we're back to the top, which means all the heat rises to the top. Not looking forward to it. Tim points out his beloved New Albany Bulldogs playing Bloomington North on Friday, and they're lucky because I don't know that North has their quarterback. I think they may have lost their quarterback. Columbus East not doing very well in the Hoosier Hills Conference this year. Lost to New Albany and Seymour. They hadn't lost a conference game in like 13 years, I believe. So things are changing down there in that deal. Who's going to the Western Kentucky game, by the way? A lot smaller stadium, I know. And someone asked earlier about a show. I'm actually going to be at the game. I'm planning on going to the game, so I will be doing, and although it's going to be a late, you all probably won't see it. You'll have to watch the show the next day, but I'll do a post-game show as usual. But that game starts at 8, I believe, John. So, gee whiz.
Yeah, we got an 8 p.m. start on CBS Sports Network.
Jesus, that means that game won't be over until 11:30 with all the passing that's going to be going on. Holy crap. That's a game I wish I wasn't going to, I'll be honest with you. Not looking forward to that one. That game is going to be late.
Saving grace will be if Indiana is able to get up by enough that they can just run it down their throats at the end and run the clock out. If they're able to be up by that much, obviously. That's part one of the situation. But
he was talking about New Albany playing Columbus East or Bloomington North this week. Someone also mentioned last week, we were talking about that Allen kid from Gibson Southern that's going to Purdue. He played New Albany, I think it was last week, and he put like 1,000 points on them. New Albany's undefeated in the conference, but they've given up 122 points or 120 plus points in their other 2 games, out of conference games. That's a lot. That's
we can
a
go
lot.
ahead and take our last break if you're ready.
Yep, let's do that. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans.
Someone else just said Mr. B's and pizza and wings after the game, like we talked about yesterday.
Stupid phone.
All right.
You helped me count pennies from my piggy bank. You helped me pick out my first car. And helped me buy my dream home. And I know you'll continue to be there for whatever my future holds. Because you're my BFF. Banking friends forever.
Right now, get free checking with online banking. And all the products of big city banks with hometown service.
With First Federal, you can do that.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Hump Day Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Had a great fun time with Bob Kravitz and Rick Bozich. Looking forward to talking to those guys each week, man. I love getting those guys together and that have tons of stories. Like, Rick Bozich went to Maryville High School with Greg Popovich, but Ron Felling was a health teacher there. I didn't know that. I found out, John, you were on, so I had to leave for the pressers when Ron Felling was on. So was that true? He was Ron Popovich's health teacher at Maryville High School?
Honestly, was it Jim Reamer who said it? I'm trying to remember who said it.
I don't know. I wasn't here. I was gone. That's what I'm saying.
So if it happened during that last segment, I was probably trying to wrap things up over on my end. I wasn't paying.
So
too much
basically, you
attention
weren't
to the
paying
conversation. Hey, I got things to do over here on this side.
Kidding.
I know you're kidding. I'm just having fun with it.
Mount Vernon, Posey County, 5-0 for the first time since 1990 takes on that Allen kid from Gibson Southern Friday night. There's a big conference showdown down there in Southwest Indiana. So that ought to be good. Ross has got tickets in the WKU section. Yeah. He's going to wear his big IU shirt, I assume. The Music Man's going to be there. So looking forward to that. But yeah, that's just cool. I mean, I remember the first time I found out about that from Rick. I was like, really? The region. But yeah, Popovich. I think that, what was it? Rick said that he got cut from the same baseball team as Popovich or something. I forget. Hey, don't forget Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers. The Coaches Show tonight. Tom Allen, Don Fisher, 7:05. Happens. You can be there. Check that out. Free. Great place to eat, though. It's a great setup, and it's a setup for this year. Next year, it's going to be in a different restaurant by the same owner, but it's a little different this year. But it's a much nicer setup than what it has been. Nothing against the Holiday Inn or anything like that, but it's a hotel. There's only so much you can do with a hotel setting, This is got lots of windows. It's a great view. It's just a better setup. But check out Southern Stone regardless. It's an awesome place to eat. It's the same people that own Wagon Wheel. I know you're familiar with that if you're in Bloomington. So looking forward to going out to the Coaches Show tonight. I'll be out there. If you're in the Bloomington area, you can head up there. It's free. And if you're not, make plans to come up sometime for that. The basketball Coaches Shows usually happen on Monday. And I don't know if they'll change that. Expect that to be the case. So looking forward to that. But tonight, Southern Stone, Patterson and Rogers, Tom Allen, Don Fisher will be there at 7:05. And Don Fisher, he's gotten more and more, I don't want to say opinionated, but he certainly lets you know now what he's thinking with the team. Like each Monday, he's I kind of let him go because he works for, in essence, paid for Indiana, but he's pretty honest with his analysis, and you have to appreciate that. But man, oh man, it's great having him on the show each Monday and getting to hear him do that. But you'd sure like to see him, with the football program going as well as it had been. I was hoping to see him his last, however long he goes. There's no sense saying that he's not quitting or anything, but eventually. But it would be lovely to see him go out with a great football program, a great bowl win, whenever that comes, or a return to basketball prominence, which I think it will happen. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. And by prominence, I don't mean that they're not going to be successful this year. I absolutely think that they will be. I just don't know that they're going to return to prominence this season. But hey, we got more coming up tomorrow. Dustin Schutte will be back on. Chris Denari will be back on.
No Chris Denari. No Chris Denari.
No Chris Denari. Damn it. Did I miss that? I was going to try to get something
he's got
set up.
something before we have because they have media days next week.
Media days Monday.
One more vacation. Yeah, so he's like, I think he might be off all this week. Is his situation?
Yeah, I wish I had those forced vacations. It's not happening. To hell with the forced vacation. I don't have a. I gotta talk to somebody about that. Who can I talk to?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't know.
Gee
I'm not
whiz.
your boss. I can give you vacation regardless.
I am the boss, and I still can't get a vacation.
That's the problem.
Here we go. You guys got beat by G5 school at home. You should be relegated out of the Big Ten. Well,
I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Cincinnati.
Well,
then that means Cincinnati he doesn't see Cincinnati as a very good team. Cincinnati, I don't care what they are. They're a top 25 team. They're not a top 10 team, but they're a top 25 team, and they shouldn't have lost to them. They should be relegated to the Big Ten West is what they should be relegated to. You want to talk about relegation? That's how it should go. Tomorrow, let's talk about relegation in the Big Ten. If you want to know what relegation means, go look up soccer. You should get relegated from the Big Ten East to the Big Ten West and have to fight your way back. That's what we'll talk about tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys for joining, though, man. It's been a blast as always. Thanks to John, the producer. Thanks to Rick Bozich, Bob Kravitz, Dustin Schutte. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without us, we have no reason to be here. We look forward to being back here tomorrow. So we'll do that. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.